just me so I can hit this thing and read this thing.
Jim, I'm Joe.
I call this meeting of the Northeast Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The board will now adjourn into executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, private consultation with the board's attorney. 551.072, discussing purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, and 551.074, to discuss personnel or hear complaints against personnel. The time is 5:34.
I'm going to miss a lot of things I've done. I know. I'm kind of glad there's space for our party. It's not enough one time.
Am I in the wrong spot? I thought I'd be wrong. Plug it in. We're good. Speak away from the microphone. Good.
On behalf of the trustees, I would like to welcome you this evening to this evening's meeting of the Northeast Independent School District Board. This is a business meeting of the board held in public. We appreciate your attendance and request your respectful attention. We welcome your comments during the matters from the floor section of the agenda. If you signed up to address a specific agenda item, you will be called at that time. Finally, I would like to remind you that it is the mission of the Northeast to challenge and encourage each student to achieve and demonstrate academic excellence, technical skills, and responsible citizenship. The time is 6:50. Thank you. Next item.
5, Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. A, Academy of Creative Education, Dr. Mary Jo McLaughlin.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, and executive staff, and guests. Thank you for inviting the Academy of Creative Education to participate in the opening of this school board meeting. Representing the student body are Valerie Carisalas and Travis Verrett. Valerie is scheduled to graduate in December of 2012, and she plans to attend the University of Texas at San Antonio, where she will major in sports medicine physical therapy. Travis is also scheduled to graduate in December of 2012. He is a traveler at heart and has visited several states east of Texas. This summer, he plans to visit the western United States and eventually to travel abroad. Accompanying the students, Valerie and Travis, is a graduation coach and advisory and social studies teacher, Mr. Tom Hauser. Also joining us this evening are members of the Advisory Corporate Council, and representing the council is Mr. Ed Miles Jr., Director of Community Projects, Office of the District Attorney. And the staff and members of the Academy team. Please stand. Each of these individuals plays a vital role in the success of Northeast Academy program. Now Valerie will read the invocation, followed by Travis, who will lead the pledges. Thank you.
Please bow your head. One nation, under God, indivisible. Let us take these words to heart and learn to live by them, for they are more than just words. They are a belief that has shaped the course of our nation and the course of our lives. For we are one nation. We are united in our belief to improve the quality of life. Education makes it possible to be the best of which we are capable. And we are under God, for we know that with the help of the Almighty, we will continue to grow as a people with the common goal of becoming citizens that will nourish and support each other. Under God, we are indivisible, working together to become a force for peace and freedom. This evening, we ask God's blessing on this board meeting, and we ask that our efforts here today bind us together as Americans, as one people, now and forever.
Please stand. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ready? Begin. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. I believe Mr. Wheat is going to hand you some certificates, if you don't mind, Mr. Wheat. And Dr. McLaughlin, would you like to come up and take some pictures? Is this going to be your last board meeting? Do we need to get our Kleenex out? You will be sorely missed, and we so appreciate all you have done to build this program. And I know you're proud of so many students, and they're all very proud of you as well. Thank you so much. You will be missed.
Appreciation given to Travis for that. Academy of Creative Education for special allegiance. Dr. Travis. Certificate of appreciation to Valerie Carazana. Academy of Creative Education for the invitation. Great job.
Thank you very much. Next item.
6 recognitions.
Dr. Gottardy.
A, well, let me see, we're going to do our MacArthur High School, JROTC, Army National Champions. That's Dr. Scheffler.
Sorry, Dr. Scheffler.
Ms. Galindo, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, Colonel Robert Henson, our Director of Army Instruction, will make the introductions to the recognitions this evening. Colonel Henson.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, guests, and my favorite people, the parents. Without you, we don't have a product. So I thank you very much. Madam President, this evening we're going to recognize some more outstanding high-speed cadets from MacArthur High School, from Reagan High School, and from Johnson High School. And to begin with, I want to thank you for your support. You're standing behind us. It's been a long year, but a very rewarding year for our cadets. And without any further ado, I want to introduce our temporary instructor, the senior Army instructor at MacArthur High School, Major Lawrence Garcia, who will make introductions of the Army National JROTC Unarmed Drill Team. Major Garcia.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff. We also have with us in our presence Principal Martinez, representing MacArthur High School, Assistant Principal Dr. Valdez, parents, and guests. Today I'd like to introduce the unarmed drill team from MacArthur High School, an armed drill team more commonly known as the Mighty Blue Guard and the Mighty Blue Angels. And despite a year filled with adversity, these team members, representatives here today, have shown a tremendous amount of resiliency and even went on to become the Army National Champions out of 70 schools. So I would like to proudly introduce the members. Cadet Jency Stubblefield. Cadet Brianna Gomes. Cadet Alicia Roybal. Cadet Ash Rodriguez. Cadet Talisha Weaver. I'm sorry, Talisha Sawyer. Cadet Rihanna Weaver. Cadet Angela Talamontes. Cadet Brandon Baca. Cadet Andy Banda. Cadet Brian Bender. Cadet Nathaniel Johnston. And Cadet Nicholas Phillips.
Thank you very much. Ms. Perkins has certificates to hand out, and then y'all can take some pictures. Congratulations to everyone.
Would you join us, please?
I would like to also introduce, working with me is Carlos Roshan as an interim instructor as well.
Now, if we could, gentlemen, if you could call in behind the ladies so we can get everybody in the picture.
Can we get them all the way back? we need some of the stuff.
Parents, feel free to come up and take pictures as well.
Thank you very much.
I get to come back again, and I have to comment on some of these young people in this next group because this is a new adventure for a lot of JROTC units, is the Junior Leadership and Academic Bowl, which is sponsored by United States Army Cadet Command and the other service commands, but also it's operated by College Options. So these young people, and they're none of them seniors is the ironic thing, they are tested in SAT and ACT questions. As you will see, some of them are so smart that they glow. So they're not like the old folks that we have. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the academic team that is headed to the National Junior Academic Bowl competition in Washington, D.C. here the 22nd of June. And their coach and sponsor, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Lovelace from Reagan High School.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, and guests, I really, as Colonel Henson has said, we all appreciate this opportunity to honor our cadets here tonight. In a minute, I'll be introducing 5 young men that are of the 6 members of our team going to D.C., but they don't, by themselves, represent the depth of our team. Our team is backed by a group of outstanding parents whose personal lives are ruled by the daily calendars of their kids. Get them to school, get them to their activities, and multiple children that they're trying to manage. We have 2 parents that were able to come tonight who are representative of the outstanding support these kids get, as all kids do at our high school, Jim and Charlotte Bellum. I don't say this to be humorous, but I am somewhat embarrassed by being introduced as their coach and sponsor. My task for the trip to D.C. is to get them there safely. Hopefully they enjoy the trip, do well, and get them back home safely. The kids' success is really based in the devoted teachers that we have at Ronald Reagan High School. Frankly, most of the subjects that are tested frighten me as an instructor. And if you think that I'm the person that got them ready for the math portion of their SAT, then you need to take a closer look at our curriculum, because it does include some math, nothing that can't be done by a handheld calculator. Tonight, Mr. Boyd, our principal, who is here with us, is simply, as our leader, is just representative of the devoted teachers that we have at Reagan who set high expectations and challenge their kids to meet those expectations. And if it wasn't for them, I don't think our team would be heading to Washington, D.C. The first young person I want to talk about tonight is Mackenzie Jones. She's our captain. She's a national merit finalist and is not with us tonight because she's currently at Texas Lutheran University in Seguin, Texas, participating in the Girls State program. And she will be, of course, going with us to Washington, D.C. Our first team member that's present tonight that's up is Theo Cabarides. As you'll see with all the kids that are introduced tonight, our team members are not one-dimensional. Theo's an Eagle Scout. He's extremely active in his church. He is a senior, going to be a senior next year. He's a junior completing this year, and he's going with us with the academic team. And next year, he's going to be our operations officer for our JRTC program. Thank you, Theo. Next is Samir Wadwania. Samir is probably as active in his church as he is in our ROTC program. He's extremely active in the ROTC program. He will be a junior and a first sergeant next year. And again, this is going to be his second trip to Washington, D.C., because as an NEISD student, he went in the 8th grade. Thank you, Samir. Our next student is David Pagal. David is one of our alternates who will be going with us this year, but all members of the team helped us get there. David will be a junior next year and a first sergeant in our program. Cool. Next up is Tony Bellum. Tony Bellum will be a junior again next year. He is going as a primary in our primary in our team. Tony is also in his second year of a student council, and like Tony is also working toward his Eagle this summer, to complete his Eagle project. And finally, we have our final member of the team here with us tonight, Gabe Millar. Gabe is going to be our XO for next year for the battalion. Gabe, interesting young man. He is. I have absolutely no musical talents. Gabe is a very excellent musician, both with the violin, with guitar, and with the piano. So on first impression, you may not think that, but he probably spends as much time with his acoustic guitar on our hallway as he does spinning a rifle, getting ready for drill. Ladies and gentlemen, that completes our team. We're heading to D.C. on the 20th, and it's my first trip to Washington in, since 1996, so I'm looking forward to it. Cool.
Thank you. Ms. Bresnahan has some certificates. Oh, sorry. Ms. Bresnahan has some certificates to give you, and then we can take pictures.
Mr. Boyd, Dr. Scheffler says you got to get up here.
Congratulations, cadets. Thank you.
President, the next group of youngsters comes from C.T. Johnson High School, and I don't know any other way than just say it's the 4th year of the high school, and these folks have been to Washington, D.C. 3 times. They've got an exciting trip planned with the help of some of our congressional delegation, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Alan Maitland, their senior Army instructor.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, members of the Executive Council, guests, and by all means, the parents of these wonderful kids that I'm going to introduce you to tonight here on the front row. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to stand before you here tonight and brag about these kids here. And because I want to introduce you 4 truly outstanding JROTC students. I'll start off with saying that these cadets began this competition in October, along with 1,344 other school JROTC teams. And we're across the nation, across the world. There's schools in Korea that's going to be participating, Germany, Italy, that are going to be at this competition. So now these cadets here represent the 5th ROTC Brigade champions. They are one of 40 teams that have earned the right to go to this national competition in Washington, D.C. to compete for a national championship title at the JROTC Leadership and Academic Bowl at George Mason University, which is located outside Washington, D.C. The first cadet I'd like to introduce you to is Cadet Staff Sergeant Alexis Tellis. She's an incoming sophomore. But in addition to JROTC, Alexis is an award-winning member of the Johnson Orchestra, and she plans to attend Yale University one day and become an architect. The next cadet I'd like to introduce is Cadet Sergeant First Class Brian Duke. He is also an incoming sophomore. Now, Brian, this past year, was our first-year superior cadet and plans to be a computer engineer and be in the Air Force. The next cadet is Cadet Sergeant First Class William Coulter Porth. He's an incoming junior, and he's also on the air rifle team at Johnson, who plans to make the Navy his career, and his intention is to get into the Naval Academy. Lastly, I'd like to introduce to you Cadet Major Duncan Pulowski. He is an incoming senior who is also our rifle team captain and the team captain for the leadership team this year. Duncan also intends to make the Army his career. But I got a special note to say about Duncan here. And I'm probably very few ROTC cadets you can say this about when there are 1,721 JROTC programs across the world with more than 320,000 students that are in the JROTC program. But Duncan, this past February, in 1 week, participated on 2 teams that had national title implications. On Monday, I took him and we participated in J-Lab where they qualified to go to nationals to compete for a national championship title. On Wednesday, I put him on a plane, took him to Anniston, Alabama, where he and his team members shot air rifle there at the Army National Air Rifle Championship, where he finished number 31 in the nation, his individual ranking, and helped his team finish a 10th place national ranking in Air Precision Rifle Championship. I don't know too many cadets that we can say that about that had 1 week time. He had an opportunity to compete for 2 national titles. Now, standing before you are only the primary cadets, the 4 primary cadets. I'll be remiss if I not recognize the 2 cadets that are the 2 alternates that will not be traveling by the rules. Only 4 primary can travel. The 2 alternate cadets are Erica Andrade and Brennan Newman. Both of these 2 cadets had the same opportunity. They contributed to them going to Washington, D.C. I want to make sure that they're recognized. This is a very young team, as 3 of the 4 cadets standing before you are only going to be second-year cadets in our program next year. Very young team. I'm very proud of these cadets because not only did they make it possible for our school to return for the 3rd time in 4 years to the National J-Lab Championship, but more importantly, they have the opportunity to defend our leadership national championship title. Last year, our guys won the national championship title. So they got a reputation to uphold so they can defend that championship title. And what I want to do is want to wish my sister school, the Reagan High School, success in the academic bowl, as our academic team fell only 2 points short of going again, and they actually were the runner-up national championship academic team. So there's some great things going on at Johnson. I am very fortunate to have these great kids to be able to work with and to do what we do there at Johnson, because we work very hard at Johnson to have a balanced JROTC program that gives every cadet many team opportunities, and we cannot do that without your support, the board, our administration, Mr. Milbrick, who's here, who supports us greatly with everything we do, and of course our parents' support. I mean, they spend a lot of time and money to make these things like this happen, but all of you all help us give these cadets an opportunity to exemplify success and nothing less. And these are my students, and I'm happy to introduce you to tonight.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Grona has some certificates to give the cadets, and we send our congratulations with you and our best hopes.
Yes, ma'am. Could have stopped me before I got all the way back here.
Thank you all very much. We look forward to some good news when you get back.
Thank you, Madam President.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. If you love numbers and budgets, you are more than welcome to stay and join us for a budget study session. But if you'd like to escape, this is a good time to do so. Thank you and have a good evening.
I think Bridget doesn't.
Wait for you to say next item.
Next item.
Well, in typical Army efficiency, that was items A, B, and C. So now we're on to D, other.
Dr. Gottardy, we have no other? All right, next item.
7, matters from executive session. A, personnel including but not limited to administrative appointments pursuant to Government Code Section 551.072.
Do I have a motion regarding personnel?
I move that we accept personnel as presented in closed session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. There can be no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? No. All right, motion passes. Next item.
2, possible action regarding action to ratify consideration whether good cause existed for contract employee to abandon contract and whether to submit complaint to TEA for job abandonment.
Do I have a motion to approve the possible action to ratify the SBEC notification of the job abandonment by term contract employee?
So moved.
Ms. Perkins, do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Thank you, Ms. Grona. I have a motion and a second. There can be no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
3, possible action regarding hiring retirees in acute shortage areas.
Do I have a motion to approve the TEA adopted acute shortage areas and the proposed inclusion of technology applications, health science technology, technology education, and deaf hard of hearing?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Wheat. I have a motion and a second. There can be no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
B, possible action on the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property.
Do we have introductions?
No action. It's next. Oh, I'm sorry. We do have introductions. I'm sorry. 4 introductions. I'm sorry. That's okay.
Dr. Gottardy.
Thank you, Madam President. Board members, we have one introduction this evening. We have a new executive director for our School Nutrition Services Department, Ms. Sharon Glosson. Sharon? Sharon is joining the Northeast family as the Executive Director of School Nutrition Services Department. She received her bachelor's degree in nutrition from Texas Christian University in 2003. Additionally, she earned her master's degree in nutrition from the University of the Incarnate Word in 2006. Most recently, Ms. Glosson was a Director of Child Nutrition in the Judson Independent School District. Ms. Glosson has a total of 9 years in education, and she also has with her tonight her husband, Edwin. So Sharon, we welcome you to the Northeast family. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's all the introductions, Ms. Galindo.
Thank you. Next item.
Okay, now back to B, possible action on the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property.
And we have no action there. Next
C,
item.
possible action on litigation.
And we have no action there. Next item.
8, presentations. Oh boy, 8. Budgets, A, budget study presentation.
It's your last chance to sneak out.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff and guests. Brian Moy, our Senior Director of Budgets, is here with our third budget study session. We hope to go through this tonight, and we're looking at adoption on June 25th. June 18th is available in case we do need some extra information that we need to present. But with that, I turn it over to Brian.
Okay. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, this is going to be a brief session. Not much has changed since we got together on the 21st, but we did want to do a little bit of updating for you, considering later on in tonight's agenda, we do have the recommended compensation package. And so we wanted to just give you a little bit more information than we provided on the 21st as to the effect of that compensation change. And then just immediately after the compensation, there's an item for calling the public meeting for June 25th and basically ordering me to post the public notice in the Express News. And so I will have what is the recommended budget that is going in that notice. Okay, just a reminder, recent history, the last teacher raise was in 10-11. It was a state-mandated step increase, which was about a 1% average increase for teachers, librarians. The last raise for everyone else was in 9-10. And unfortunately, if you include eliminating the retention supplement, most NEISD employees experienced a decrease in pay for 11-12. So the things that Dr. Gottardy and executive staff had to consider was, do we give one? If we do, is it a one-time payment or like a supplement as we did with the old retention supplement? Or do we make it a permanent increase of salary? How much of a raise? And do we apply the increase equitably among all staff, or do we differentiate between jobs? If there wasn't enough money, would we just provide it to teachers and not to central office or not to auxiliary? Those were the considerations. We showed you last time basically what our peers are doing. And you can see for the most part, they're going with ongoing raises in the range of 2 to 3%. Again, as we discussed before, we are one of the harder hit districts in terms of revenue loss compared to the old funding formula before 2011. And so it's going to be a little bit tougher for us to go ahead and provide a raise. We're losing about 50% more revenue than all of our peers on average are going to be hit with next year. That being said, we think we've provided for enough changes in other areas and had been in austerity program long enough to where it's basically executive staff decided it was time. We can work this. So I'm going to quickly go through the compensation package that was laid out in the agenda item later on. If there are any questions that I can't answer, we have Joel Trevino, the Executive Director of Human Resources, present, as well as Shiloh Witten from the Human Resources Department, and they will be available to answer any questions either now or at the time of the agenda item. Basically, for teachers, the starting salary will be increased to $46,634 from an even $46,000. For eligible teachers, there will be an across-the-board $1,034 pay increase. Every teacher will receive $1,034. That is a 2% average increase. For teachers who did not earn a year of credit based on when they were hired during the year, they will be eligible for an increase of $557, almost about a 1% increase instead of a 2% because they did not earn a creditable year of service. For professionals, administrators, pay scales, these are all a midpoint scale. They have a min, a mid, and a max, and traditionally Northeast does not provide raises based on what an employee on one of these scales is currently earning. It's always just based off of the midpoint of the scale. Scales will be adjusted by 1%. That kind of increases the scale by 1%. That kind of keeps from employees new to hire and existing employees from being in a compressed state. And we're going to ground a 2% increase off that midpoint. So for all intents and purposes, it is a 2% of midpoint increase. Adjusting the scales by 1%, then applying a 2% really doesn't have much effect. It's in the hundredths of a percent. And again, for employees not earning a year of credible service, the increase will be half. The exact same thing for classified. That would be all of our school nutrition employees, maintenance employees, custodians, everything will be just the same as professionals. It's an across-the-board 2% increase. What is that going to cost us? Well, for teachers, librarians, that scale, the increase in just the base pay is almost $4.4 million. What's important to know is that's not the only thing that goes up. All the associated benefits that are based on a percentage of salary go up. And for teachers, that is a significant number because the teacher retirement system, yes, the state pays most of that. But when it comes to contracted teachers, the share of the TRS that is paid for by the state is based on the state minimum salary scale. For the dollars that Northeast pays above the minimum salary scale, Northeast is required to pay the 6% into TRS. It's called TRS above statutory minimum. So in essence, that is the majority of that $372,000. So a teacher raise of 2% on their salary of 4.4 is really a 4.8 increase. Now, everyone, Northeast does not participate in Social Security. So for everyone else, you're really just going to see an increase a little bit on TRS Care, which is the payment, the district's share of the payment into the retirees health program. That is 0.55% of payroll, and the Medicare portion is 1.42. That is the majority of, say, in the next box, the admin and other professionals, the 19,000, slight increase. So the admin and professionals is that does not add. Wow, that does not add. It is, I'm sorry, that is supposed to say, that is not supposed to say 992. That, my apologies. It adds down to 92. That is 792. Wow, just a typo. Of course, if Wes was here, I wouldn't be working tomorrow, but that's okay. Thanks, Dan. Campus paraprofessionals, just under $467,000 if the increase for campus paras, and campus custodians, it'd be $265,000. Non-campus professionals, and again, this is a lot of people, not only just working in this building, but a lot of itinerant workers, special ed workers who report here, but work most of their days at campuses. There's about 344,000. And non-campus paraprofessionals and classifieds, about 400,000. So in total, The increase is just about $6.5 million on the salaries, $430,000 on benefits, total increase of just under $7.1 million. Now, we have identified cuts, and we discussed with you at earlier meetings, just for next year, we have identified reductions of about $6 to $6.2 million to offset this increase. So there's a lot of other areas that are being reduced in order to help accommodate this increase. Okay. The next, like I said, you're going to also be adopting, or not adopting, you're going to be ordering the call for the public meeting and public notice. And the compensation plan, as it works through the budget, again, there you see there's about $7.1 million, cost reductions of $6 million. We'd have discussed in length in previous budget study sessions the cost to roll in the Ed.D. jobs funds going away, the stabilization funds going away, the technology allotment. We've used up what was left over in that. Those are your other major increases. So our expenditures are going up $23 million. This is not unexpected at all. We knew that the Ed.D. Jobs Fund was a one-time deal. We've been working under the assumption that these funds would be rolling over into the general since the time that the Ed.D. Jobs grant was announced that it had finally been released for Texas. So we're going to have total recommended expenditure budget next year of just over $493 million. Now, when I show you here, I showed you that just so no one thinks I'm hiding anything, 11-12 budget expenditures, I say adjusted $470 million. What does that mean? Well, as of budget amendment number 5, there's actually $487 million in that budget, 487.6. But there's a couple of things in order for me to do an apples-to-apples comparison. We've got to back off some changes that were made to the budget since July 1 of 11. The biggest one being the reimbursing resolution. The items that we are including in this year's budget as part of the reimbursing resolution for the bonds obviously skews an apples-to-apples comparison of next year's just operating budget. Also, we've reduced by over $4 million this year the amounts that we knew were not going to be spent for position vacancies. The savings for not having a employee in a position. For 12-13, we are back fresh to budgeting all positions. Again, well, do I expect that next spring, just as I did this spring, we'll bring you a reduction to the budget for unfilled positions? Yes, but just to start the budget and do an apples-to-apples comparison, I've added that back. So that's how we got to the 470. So overall, the budget that is the one that was used to compile the information for the public notice starts with about $476 million in revenue, most of which is based on local property tax. Surprise, surprise. The state portion is what's going down, not what our local taxpayers are funding. You will be required to adopt a budget which is based on functions. There are more functions than this. This is the state, how they categorize. Each one of these lines has about 3 or 4 state function codes, but just to make the slide easier, I've combined them into their summary categories. And you can see that, despite everything that we've done, we are still, as almost always, sitting right about the 66% instruction related. And it's a total expenditure budget of $493 million. Another way of looking at the expenditures is what are we buying? And we are at 86% budget salaries and benefits. That will probably be a little lower when we see the actual numbers come through, because there will be more than likely more unspent monies on job vacancies than on the other categories. So it'll probably be closer to 84.5%, 85% actual when we get to June 30 of 13. So the budget that we're showing, please don't get alarmed, I've got some information to help this out, is showing a budgeted reduction to fund balance of $17.6 million. Now, I have been showing you before forecasted What I think is really going to happen is what we've been using through these sessions, and that was closer to 10 million. And I can show you where the differences are. The budget is the legal authority to spend. But just because a dollar is budgeted doesn't mean it will be spent. We have years of data showing that there will always be, for instance, vacant positions. Numerous positions won't be filled every working day of the year. We just know that it's an impossibility. And several central office positions Dr. Gottardy will probably hold for the majority of the year, if not all of the year. Without a doubt, I can tell you that we will not spend every dollar of our payroll budget. Plus, what is being budgeted right now may include the salaries of people who are going to be retiring. We're going to be replacing those people with usually people who are younger, lower paid, less experienced. And so that pay is a savings between the person who's retiring and the person who's coming in to replace them. We are expecting about $7 million of what's in the current payroll budget will not be spent, about 1.6%. That is very much in line with our historical trends. The same thing goes with our non-payroll costs. Just because we have money set aside for supplies or money set aside for contracted services doesn't mean that we will use all that money. Our district budget managers, our principals, have gotten the word. We're still in austerity. I mean, we are not in a point where we've declared financial exigency, but that doesn't mean we can just start spending just to spend. We have very faithful budget managers. Plus, we make it a point, as opposed to what some other governments do, where just because you don't spend what you were given this year doesn't mean we're going to take you down to what you did spend. You're not going to lower your budget for next year. So we get out of that whole, June 30 people buying paint and whitewashing rocks just to spend their money. That just doesn't happen. We also know that a portion of the budget will be tied up in open purchase orders that won't happen, that won't be liquidated till by the end of the year. Again, just like with payroll, we're anticipating there's going to be about 1.6, 1.7% of non-payroll will eventually not be spent. So it's a total difference between budget and what I'm saying it will likely be reality of $8.2 million. So the column on the right is what you have been seeing most often. We don't want to plan on the budget column and then not be able to do certain things that we want. The budget is simply the legal authority to spend. Based on that budget, we anticipate $8 million not being spent, and we know that we will dip into fund balance by over $9 million. That, though, has actually, if we approved a compensation plan, the models have always said that's where we're going to be. We have built up our fund balance to get through these next couple of years, to see what happens with the lawsuit, to see what happened with the legislative session. So we were at the end of this year, we'll anticipate being 3 to 3.1 months of fund balance. And this budget will lead us, if this is the only pay raise we give for the foreseeable future, will lead us to get us through to to get us through to 2015 and still be at or near that magic number of 2 months reserve in fund balance. Now, the only thing we have coming up is the adoption on the 15th. We have the tax rate will be adopted on August 13th. We cannot adopt the tax rate until after July 25th because we have to receive the official property values from Bear Appraisal District before we can adopt a tax rate. Now, there was tentatively set aside June 18th as a budget study session, but unless you tonight say, I need a lot of information on X, Y, or Z, we're planning on scrapping next Monday. But if there's a lot of information you would like for me to bring forward, we can continue that meeting. But I have a feeling you're probably sick of hearing about finances, so. Do you have any questions?
Kind of lost me with the budget and the forecast.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're telling me that you're forecasting a certain number, but you budgeted for another number. Why wouldn't they be the same if the purpose of the budget is legal authority to spend money? I don't understand.
Well, I could put a plug somewhere in the budget, a negative number for the amount of the amount of the budget that we don't anticipate spending, but that's spread out among, 60,000 line items.
The different functions?
All the different functions, all the different accounts, all the different program intent codes. I mean, this budget will create, I'm showing you a table of about 9 numbers.
Right.
This will create probably close to 100,000 individual accounts that will have a budget in it. And how to say, well, it's going to be the ALE teacher at Montgomery is the one that's going to be vacant for 2 months. So instead we leave and we leave the budget as is. And if we work
But
off
you've
the two different things.
calculated the number, so you must have looked at the ALE teacher.
No,
You calculated that
no,
number,
I'm saying that on average, 1.6% of payroll across the board.
Okay, so you're taking it as a percentage based on trends or patterns?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I do not.
Okay, now
I do
get
not
it.
know.
Yeah,
I do
I
not know at
understand.
this point where, to the minute detail, that 8.2 million is going to come
But you
from.
know that is what's going to happen
Yes, ma'am.
based on history?
Yes, ma'am.
And so how do you use that number in analysis going forward? Do you track that number as well?
we sweat about it. If I'm
Yeah,
wrong,
I
I'm in
would
big
think
trouble.
so.
Yes. So yeah, we track. We're constantly tracking our budget versus our actual, and like I said, this year alone, we have already brought, I think it was in February or March, we brought you a
Of those-
reduction of $4.1 million, and that only represented part of the year of which there were vacancies.
Right.
So to reach that 7 million number is not, it's.
So you use it as a tool, an
Yes, ma'am.
analysis tool?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the Secretary of Education and his comments that he was going to open up grant money, whether or not the state agreed to access to the money.
There will be Race to the Top grants made available. I know that our Office of Institutional Development was already chomping at the bit, was already trying to I need to get some information from you. I need to get some. I was like, can I get to the budget first? And so we will be actively going after
I guess I'm
these
thinking
Race to
about the
Top.
revenue portion of the budget, and is there a potential impact, positive impact to our?
There is a
to the
potential.
revenue side.
There is a potential impact. It also depends on if we are fortunate enough to receive any of the Race to the Top funds.
So it is possible in the year 2013.
Sure.
That's really what I'm driving
yes,
at.
it is possible, but again, positive impact to general fund depends on the supplement versus supplant requirements.
sure.
It depends on what the strings are.
I understand. Thank you very much. I just want to we're always talking about potential sources of revenue from our state, which we know we're not getting. There are no revenue bills that have been talked about. So this is at least a possibility. And I understand I wouldn't put it in the budget either, but it is out there.
The possibility is out there. They're
Okay.
opening up the system. And
So I wasn't sure about the timing.
And I hope that something does change, because I was just looking, National NEA, National Education Association, has published their estimates of 11-12 current year budgeted expenditures, and Texas has dropped to, in their estimate of 11-12, it dropped to 47.
I was going to say 40.
We're very leery about those potential grants, only because, like I think Brian did a nice job of explaining, a lot of them are matching grants. So you may get, I don't know, let's say $100,000, but then they want you to match that with local operating fund. So do we really save anything?
Sure.
So we're looking at each one of those very carefully, and of course, we will go after as many grants as we think are necessary, but that's yet to be determined whether or not we receive them.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Nope. Well, I'm impressed, very impressed. I was hoping we'd hit that 3-month mark. It's exciting that y'all just did a miracle, given the teachers' raises and other employees' raises, and still keeping our fund balance healthy.
Ms. Galindo, I think Brian did a great job. I mean,
Yes,
highlighting
absolutely.
highlighting the fact that our revenue is going to be down another 8.8%.
Right.
A pay raise that we're recommending to you is going to cost us $7 million. But we just didn't feel good at all about the teachers going another year without a pay
Agreed.
raise, and the other employees in the district. This will be their third year without a pay raise.
No,
So
it needed to be done, and it,
we wish it was higher than that. I mean, we wish it was 4 or 5,
sure.
but we feel good about it being 2.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you for all your hard work. It's an impressive budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
9, board business. A, possible action regarding 2012 TASB Board of Directors nomination. Ms. Galindo.
All right. Yeah, you may or may not know that Mrs. Hughey has been our representative on the TASB board for the past, is it 2 years?
3 years.
3 years. Time goes by so fast. And we'd like to renominate Ms. Hughey unless someone has another person they would like to nominate, or a burning desire to do it. Sandi represents us very well on the TASB board, and she's highly respected by the TASB members. They all know her. They all know about our district, and she is
District, thanks to me. Yeah.
she is our number one cheerleader. So I'm excited that she wants to do this again. And unless there's any other thoughts or questions, then we will go ahead and
Need a nomination.
make the nomination. So, do I have a motion that we consider nominating Ms. Sandi Hughey as a representative of the TASB Board of Directors, TASB Region 20, Position E, Northeast ISD?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Awesome. It's all the women, right? Sorry, Jim.
Sorry, Jim.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Ms. Hughey.
I will abstain on the vote just
Oh,
because
yes.
it seems improper.
Yeah, well, that's
But thank
probably
you.
true.
Madam Chair, can I make one comment?
Yes.
Sandy, I just, for everyone, Sandy goes to everything. She attends everything. She represents us well. And I really appreciate it because she works full-time, and I know it's difficult, but she does not miss a beat. And because of her, we have made some real inroads and connections that have helped us as a school district. So
Absolutely.
thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Sandi.
It's true. Ditto, ditto,
Yay,
ditto.
yes, give her a round of applause. Thank you very much.
I really appreciate that, but I have to tell you, I think that one of the most exciting things for the last 2 years is that TASB saw fit to waive all the fees for all of our classes, for our convention and everything else. This is for the second year they're doing this by dipping into the, guess what, fund balance. But they, again, have done a great job of watching expenses and things like that. So
Yes.
that, for me, has been the greatest accomplishment because it's enabled so many more districts to participate when their finances are in such dire straits. So thank you all.
In case the audience doesn't know, we do, as board members, have to earn so many credits every year of continuing education. It's required by law. And typically, it comes out of taxpayer money when we have to go and receive the training. But TASB has graciously waived those fees, and so it's not costing you or me or any of us taxpayer dollars to receive the training. So we're real grateful for their generosity and their understanding of the economic times that we're in.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Okay.
Next item.
10, new business for possible board action. A, board policies. 1, possible action regarding proposed board policy update 93, first reading.
Yeah, B, the advocacy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Let me get on the screen up here. That would probably help if I did that instead. Okay. B, possible action regarding TASB advocacy resolution.
Right. We had discussed creating a resolution to present to TASB. You pulled it up?
Yeah. Susan and I have been discussing this. There was a referendum on the Republican ballot this past election that the state should fund education by allowing dollars to follow the child instead of the bureaucracy through a program which allows parents the freedom to choose their child's school, public or private, while also saving significant taxpayer dollars.
Right, and
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
I mean, philosophically, it sounds so well because it's worded different than a typical voucher referendum, which is what we typically see. So this is just worded differently, and we wanted to present a resolution to TASB about our support for public education and for dollars to remain with public education. And
However,
yep.
As we discussed it, and I was doing a little bit more research, as Susan and I tried to work on some wording, they're really, as an advocacy priority, TASB's Government Relations Office puts together an advocacy list every year that's based on a grassroots method, where it's literally all the school districts come together in their regions, and coming from each school district, it builds on top of each other to come up with a concise list of the priorities. And it's a really great method. It touches every school district in the state. But one of their top priorities is TASB opposes the diversion of taxpayer dollars to private schools, including vouchers, tuition tax credits, and other such programs funded with public tax dollars. That wording has had to increase over the years as different terminology is used to describe vouchers. Whether it's pilot programs for this, that, or the other, there's always someone trying to divert our tax dollars into private schools, which, as we all know, are not accountable. And we felt it was really necessary to address this issue, but I don't know if a resolution is the proper way, but because there is some wording already that covers it. So,
Well, I really felt that this was somewhat redundant, because we went to that meeting in January
right.
and we discussed resolutions, and then it was going to move forward through the system so that there could be a master plan. So I wondered why we even had this as an action item, other than maybe
well, resolutions are open to any subject. It just to anything that we would like to bring forward as a district. Maybe there's something that specifically affects us as a district. For example, a lot of the rural districts have addressed IFA funding and things over the years. But this came up.
So this is in addition to, is that?
Well, we were trying to determine if we opened it up for discussion tonight, but actually there's not any specific wording that would probably be any more powerful than what's already out there.
I agree.
However, it needs to be brought forward that there are still entities, and this referendum passed in the Republican primary by 84%.
Well, and when I went to vote in that primary, and I was so offended when I saw that. I was so disgusted. And I thought to myself, we're backing people that say they support education that are in the Republican Party, and then they have that as the top
Right.
resolution, and that says a lot to me.
And I
a
think
lot to me.
I like the way TASB has worded it in the past, where they're for a voucher system if the accountability measures are the same. And there is no accountability for private schools and home schools, and to put in a system like that would be extremely costly. And quite frankly, there's just no way to keep up with it all.
Brian
So
Moy
it's-
would never go to sleep. Can you
So,
imagine what an accounting nightmare that would be?
So while it's worded rather negatively,
Not to mention
they
the
also have a
potential for-
positive, or the other side of the coin, way that they're wording it. And I wanted to say that because I like that. I like the fact that.
Sure, if you can meet our standards,
Yeah,
go
right,
ahead.
right. If
More power to
everybody,
you.
if all the standards are the same across the board and everybody's having to meet the same accountability measures, well, then that makes the voucher idea a little more
Palatable.
palatable.
However,
But that's
there
just
is
not
no
the
way-
case.
There is no way that.
And even
that
if it
private
was
would
the case,
ever- yeah.
it would be impossible to.
They have other things to think about. I can't
Yeah.
believe that was what was on the list.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons that we kept this on the agenda tonight,
Right.
is because.
Well, unless we could become, be more direct or more aggressive in how we want to address it. I'm not sure how.
I'll be going to the legislative meeting Wednesday this Wednesday is the beginning of classes on Thursday, but Wednesday night is the legislative action group meets again. And I hope that what I'll be able to bring to the meeting is that we discussed a referendum, although the wording, resolution, sorry, although the wording is already in TASB, that we felt that this was an important issue that needed to be public. I'm sure a lot of people didn't realize this was on the Republican ballot.
I was surprised to see it.
So they're still trying to get in the back door with vouchers, and it's destructive to us.
If I may, I'll just add, I think what Sandi just said is exactly what needs to happen here. You don't need to take any action on this particular resolution. Sandi, as she goes to these TASB meetings, she'll be able to bring you back updates as to what's really occurring with the wording that they already have in place.
And if nothing else, if we can get it out to the room sitting here and whoever's on the intranet, that.
But you know something, I think it's really important, Sandi, I don't know how to do it, I don't know how you'll do it, but if these people are asking for our support, our Speaker of the House, Senator Wentworth, well, then we need some buy-in and some help from them, because they are the Republican leadership. And they want us to vote for them, they want our support, but then they have the audacity to put that on a ballot. And there is intent behind it, and there's a movement behind it, and I'm sorry, but I don't trust them. I don't trust it. Why was it there now, after all the things that we have encountered? But they come to us and they ask us to push for them and to vote for them. What, in return, this should not be there.
Well, particularly even after just as recently as a few days ago, there was still another quote in the paper that the state has funded education for an additional, $5.4 billion this year? The state gave us more this year. I'm not sure.
I read that in the paper yesterday, and I couldn't imagine
Talk
what they
about
were
public
talking
education
about.
and not about charters and vouchers.
Yeah.
Spend some time focusing on this.
Right.
So, okay. All right.
Thank you.
But thank you. I needed your input for that. Thank you.
Whatever's worth. Probably not much.
Aren't y'all glad you got into this, guys?
All right. So we'll have no action on that item.
Let me get back over.
Next item.
Okay, let me get back over here to the right page. 10, new business for possible board action. A, board policies. 1, possible action regarding proposed board policy update 93, first reading.
Is that Dr. Gottardy?
Thank you, Ms. Galindo. Board members, we bring to you tonight Policy Update 93. If there are no questions, we'll bring back at the next regular board meeting, which will be in July, to adopt Update 93. We do have staff here available should you have any questions about any of the proposed policies.
I did have a question. I don't know if anybody else has a question. On page 19, I was trying to understand the logic behind moving, let me get the moral turpitude question, moving like DWI and other felony acts from out of moral turpitude into another. Yeah. Does anybody know why that happened?
I don't know if Dr. Scheffler or Hoel has any insight on this. If not, we will get the answer for you and bring it back to you when we bring it back to you at the next regular scheduled board meeting. I'm assuming that the attorneys at TASB decided that it's better served in this new area.
Yeah, that makes sense, but it says it's recommended for deletion since the conduct is no longer listed as a crime involving moral turpitude.
I think they're just.
We'll just make a note that we'll check on it for you and get the answer to you before we adopt the second reading.
Okay.
Approve the second reading.
Dr. Gottardy, members of the board, part of that is my understanding is a change in the law, but I would have to go back and research it in the way the law is stated.
I'm sure there's not anything we can do about it, but I'm just curious as to what the thought was behind it. Did anybody else have any questions? Oh,
Yeah.
Ms. Glenda Marie has a comment.
sure.
On the cover sheet of Update 93, I listed 9 policies,
Mm-hmm.
and I accidentally left off, it's in Update 93, it's included, but it's not on the cover sheet. There are actually 10.
10, okay.
And EFA is not listed, a local policy.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make note that it will be added,
Okay.
so there's actually 10.
Okay.
It's there, the instructional resources, you're saying just now, the cover, yeah, okay, because we had it as, okay, got it, okay.
All right. Ms. Bresnahan.
Naming of the schools.
Just to be clear, under elementary schools, it says, "To name a new elementary school, the superintendent shall recommend one or more names to the board for approval." And I remember the last time, didn't we, as a board, discuss names and bring them forward? So then I was unclear as to what the policy really was.
Ms. Bresnahan, this is the legal policy. We can always bring to you a local policy adopting how we want to be naming
Okay.
schools, and that's what we just did, I want to say,
Yeah.
a month or two ago, Mr. Clary?
We did.
A couple months ago, where
So
we brought to
legal
you.
versus local, this is,
This is the minimum, and we'll do that
Yeah.
anyway, when we
Okay.
bring to you.
I understand now.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
you're welcome.
Are there other board members with questions? All right. So, let me go back up. Sorry, I've been scrolling through 20 pages.
It's page 14, if that helps.
Thank you, that does help.
Just got to it myself.
I probably can find a faster way to do it. Unless, Ms. Hughey, you want to read the...
Be a motion to approve
Yeah.
first reading, yeah.
Mhm. Oh, that's it, that's it? Is that easy? Do I have a motion to approve first reading?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Ms. Grona. I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
B, resolutions. 1, possible action regarding resolution by the Board of Trustees appointing the underwriting syndicate pool pursuant to the sale of Series 2012 bonds and/or future issuances of bond indebtedness.
Mr. Villarreal.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, and guests. Tonight, we bring a resolution to you listing 20 potential underwriters that we want to put in a pool. We put out a request for qualifications back in April, and district staff and our FA, Mark Seal, got together and we scored them and we graded them and we scored them out. And we're bringing to you as a list of 20 that we want to be able to potentially do business with. That doesn't mean that we'll be using all 20, but at least we'll have a pool to pick from. On June 25th, we'll bring you some more documents that we need to do and sign off on. And Fulbright Jaworski is our legal counsel for bonds. But this is a resolution just listing the 20 underwriters that we might potentially use.
Okay, great. Does anyone have questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the attached resolution?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Nope. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And is Mark in the audience? Can we?
It's right there.
Thank you. We appreciate all that you do with our district. And we appreciate you being here as well. Next item.
C, Los Lomos and Vineyard Ranch Elementaries. 1, consideration and possible action to ratify extension of grandfather clause for new elementary schools as implemented by administration.
Dr. Gottardy.
Thank you, Ms. Glendon. Board members, just in the last month, we have discovered that the 2 elementary schools that are currently under construction are not going to be ready the first day of school. And because of that impact, those 2 project sites are not going to be ready for the first day of school, we then had to put together a plan on where we were going to have those students begin school. And in doing so, it came to our attention that this is as of the last day of school, current fourth graders, which will be fifth graders next year, when we brought to you a grandfather clause back in either January or February when we did the boundary changes, we had a grandfather clause at that particular time, and that window had already closed. Because we now have to adjust student enrollments at different elementary schools, we felt like it was in the best interest of those particular students to reopen that window for a grandfather clause to incoming current fourth graders, who will then be fifth graders the first day of school, and their siblings, that we'd open that window back up for a grandfather clause. And we did that on June the 4th. We sent out notices to the schools and to the parents prior to the last day of school, telling them that a window was going to reopen on June the 4th and that it will stay open until June the 18th. But we have to bring that back to the Board of Trustees, asking you to ratify, in essence, giving us permission to go forward with that grandfather clause. The difference with this particular grandfather clause that is different than most of the ones we've brought to you in the past is the fact that with these fifth grade students and their siblings, we are also recommending to you that we use transportation for this particular grandfather clause until at such point that the schools are opened and we transfer all appropriate students to the new schools. At that particular point, any parent who chooses to keep their student in the current school that they're in, meaning that they're going to adhere to the grandfather clause through the rest of next year, transportation would be eliminated at that particular point. And that's why we're bringing it to you for a board agenda action item tonight.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And just for the record, we're talking about Las Lomas and Vineyard Ranch.
Yes, ma'am,
So
we
we
are.
have that on the record, all right?
The fact that the Vineyard Ranch students are being assigned to Vineyard Ranch students are being assigned to either Wilderness Oak or Hardy Oak, and the Las Lomas students are being assigned to either Canyon Ridge or Stone Oak. Those are the
Right.
students we're including.
All right, thank you.
And we want to be clear that even though it says any current fourth grader, like you said in there, I mean, when it was in the school year, they were current fourth graders.
That's correct.
Now it
they're
is
fifth
summer,
graders.
and they're going to consider themselves fifth graders.
We-
So
we-
we just
we
want to
d-
be sure that that's not confusing in any way, that it's fourth graders who are going to be fifth graders in this school year.
Yes, ma'am. And the reason why we put that language in there is because if a student moves in this summer from, let's say, outside the school district, and they're going to be a fifth grader next year, that really does, the grandfather clause
apply
should
to
not impact them. It doesn't
Right.
apply to them.
Right.
It only applies to current fourth grade students who are going to be fifth graders the first day of school.
Yeah.
Got it. Are there any other questions? Oh, sorry, I asked that at the wrong time. I'm learning. Thank you for being patient with me as I learn all the parliamentary rules should have already memorized. All right.
You can go to one of those free classes this
Yeah,
week.
that's what I'm going to do. Okay. Do I have a motion to,
Ratify.
yes, hold on, let me, what's not on here? Do I have a motion to ratify the extension of the grandfather clause for new elementary schools, for the two new elementary schools, Las Lomas and Vineyard Ranch, as implemented by the administration?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item.
D, Human Resources. One, possible action regarding proposed compensation plan for 2012-2013.
Dr. Scheffler.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, I'll ask Joel Trevino to come forward to ask for the proposed compensation plan and salary schedules for 12-13 be approved.
Madam President Galindo, board members, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, and guests. It is the goal of the Northeast Independent School District to maintain a pay system that provides for internal and external equity. You already saw the presentation by Mr. Brian Moy, where he went over the compensation plan proposed for the 2012-2013 school year, and specifically looking at the teacher salary schedule, professional and administrative pay schedules, and classified pay scales. The cost of the proposal, again, also was detailed in the budget presentation today, and it is recommended by the administration that you approve the compensation plan for the 12-13 school year.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the compensation plan for the 2013 school year?
Excuse me, I signed up to speak on that?
I apologize. Number 10.
Yeah, it does.
I thought it
didn't
said
say the
I-10.
item. Yeah, it didn't say the
Sorry.
item. Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Wasn't sure what X10 was.
yep.
Well, good evening,
Okay.
Madam President.
Just a moment, we'll need to go through the,
Okay.
you need to do your thing.
Oh, okay.
Yep, sorry. Let me find my script that I need to say that you have already memorized, probably better than me.
No, not at all.
Hold on, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We have to look it up.
I'm not used to speaking at this time either.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm not used to speaking at this time either, so.
Yeah. I know you had sent it in an email, Marie. The script for matters from the floor is not, it's not up here, at least not that I can find it.
I'm looking for it. Hold on just a minute.
Looking for it. No. Yeah, Sandy's looking it up. We'll get it. Thank you for your patience.
I'll have to go
Yeah.
online and see.
Yep, I think we found it. Awesome, thank you. Yep. This time is provided for citizens to address the board on issues or concerns other than the character or name of any student, staff, or board member. Each person who signs up shall be allowed to address the board one time for no more than, is it 3 minutes?
3 minutes.
3
One time.
minutes.
Item is less.
Therefore, a presentation involving more than one person is not permitted during this time. Board members cannot respond to issues or concerns that were not listed on the agenda, but they may assign an issue to a future agenda or to the administration for further study. Thank you for waiting.
No, thank you. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, and guests, my name is Patsy Esterline, and I live at 411 Hialeah. I'm the president of the Northeast AFT, and as the teacher group, I would heartily recommend that you please pass this for the teachers and the hourly employees, since because of the increase in the insurance, the health insurance in 2012, we lost money this past year. So the $1,034 will be a great boost to those and bring us kind of back into line. I would just like to say that studies still show that if you're going to leave teaching, you generally leave within the first 5 years. So my personal recommendation would be to not give so much to the beginning teachers. But I was told not to say that, but you know me, I don't follow directions. I'm a teacher, I give them. So I'm directing you, please, to vote for this and for this compensation. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the compensation plan for the 2013 school year? Ms. Bresnahan, do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Perkins. I have a motion and a second. Are there any other questions? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
E, Business Services. 1, possible action regarding notice of public meeting to discuss budget and proposed tax rate.
Mr. Villarreal.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Gottardy, executive staff, and guests. We bring to you an action item asking to be able to publish the notice, the public meeting to discuss the budget and the proposed tax rate for June 25th. Basically, this just gives us the approval to be able to put it in the newspaper.
Okay.
And I think you do have a copy of that.
Yes. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the publication of the notice of public meeting to discuss budget and proposed tax rates in accordance with Texas Education Code, Section 44.004? I have a tie. I'll give it to Ms. Grona. She's brave to get out there and make the motion. And Ms. Perkins will give you the second. So I have a motion and a second. A motion from Ms. Grona, a first, and a second from Ms. Perkins. Are there any other questions? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item.
F, consent. 1, business services. A, $50,000 purchases. B, bid items. 2, construction. A, 2011 bond program, Lee High School facility additions and renovations project, construction manager at risk, bid delivery method, authorization approval. B, professional services contracts, construction contracts, and related contract amendments. 3, end of consent. Gosh, that's short.
I know, I think this is the shortest consent agenda item in the 6 years I've been on the board. It's kind of nice, sorry. Okay, do I have any board members wanting to pull an item from consent? No? All right.
That's a first, too.
That's a first.
Wow.
It's so short. See, if you keep them short, we don't pull the items. Uh-huh.
Did you hear that? And it's summertime, too, so yeah.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve consent?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Come on, guys.
I know, y'all are kind of sleeping tonight. Okay, I have a motion from Ms. Hughey and a second from Ms. Perkins. Are there any questions?
Consent is to approve consent.
To approve consent as presented.
And no discussion.
Is there any discussion?
Can't-
We can't have discussion.
Right. There can be no discussion.
Wow. You'd think after all this time I'd get this down. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
11, reports. A, financial report, statement, review of expenditures, investment monthly report, Government Code 2256.023.
And those have been provided for you. Next item.
12, matters from the floor.
Ms.
That's the
Hughey.
same as earlier.
Yes.
And so we have one.
Okay. In order to not be repetitious, what I just read about 5 minutes ago, it still counts.
Saving time here.
So, Ms. Hughey.
Except you have 5 minutes, and that'd be Tom Cummings.
Yes, except it's 5 minutes instead of 3 minutes. Thank you.
Can I get by with what I said 2 months ago?
We might forget.
My name is Tom Cummins, and I'm speaking for Northeast AFT. First, thank you for the pay raise.
Address.
The paraprofessionals and the classified is especially critical.
Absolutely.
Address.
It's been really,
Don't forget your address.
6800 Park 10
Thank you.
Boulevard. You didn't read the script, so I forgot. Not my fault. We'd also like to welcome the new members, Ms. Grona, Mr. Wheat, and the one who came back for more punishment, Ms. Bresnahan. Thank you for serving again. Also want to congratulate the new officers. And Ms. Galindo, we wish you the best of luck as board president.
Thank you.
It's not an easy job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. That may also have been our shortest matters from the floor, so we're doing really good tonight. And it's only 8:22.
I couldn't hit the clear button. I was so startled. Okay, let's see.
Okay, next item.
13, board member requests for items to be placed on next month's agenda.
Are there any board members wishing to place an item on next month's agenda? If you don't have one tonight and you think of something, you can always let us know before the filing date. Next item.
14, discussion and possible action regarding board member requests for reports from the administration.
And there's no action there.
This is very strange. 15, adjournment.
Wow.
And the time is
It's
8:21.
8:20 something.
Hey, staff.
Wow.